Mr. Sipos, I know that you have two sides that you wanted to present. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you. First, I want to thank the Aspen Institute for inviting me to this wonderful conference. I know we're running late, so I'm going to try to shorten my presentation.
Thank you.
And actually, I have an example of a project to be financed in the region, a new project, and also a proposal to strengthen the stability of the energy infrastructure in Romania, institutional energy infrastructure. Thinking about the presentations that my colleagues had before today and yesterday, I thought, like Mehmet, like Mr. Boyko and other colleagues of mine, to step back and think about the bigger picture of the gas market. And last night I heard that the head of Gazprom, Alexei Miller, reported to his president a few days ago that the company does not know what to do with its booked reserves. Gazprom potentially can extract annually 617 BCM, but last year they got only 444 BCM. There was no demand for 173 BCM, which really it's a completely different world. Gazprom, like many other producers, desperately need buyers. Without them, further development of its extraction reserves does not make financial or economic sense. In the case of Gazprom, their push to Asia, in particular China, shows potential, but it looks increasingly likely that between the 2020 and 2035, according to the BP projection, China will not buy any additional foreign gas, which is again contrary to all the projections we had until now. If this is correct, Gazprom may be forced to sell its gas to China at a very low price, like maybe even lower than the LNG price. Some experts believe it will be $260 per ton of cubic meters. They also need to may come back stronger to the European markets without the presumed leverage of a huge alternative market as they had last year. Suffice to say, lower demand is indicative of today's gas markets, which by now is really becoming a buyer's market. For Russia, the price decline has been a disaster, and the Russian suppliers no longer can or willing to invest in the European infrastructure. So we may go back to all the times when gas was delivered to the border without any transmission to the end user or any downstream activities. And coming back to the interconnectors in our region and the financing of those interconnectors. Yesterday, Ambassador Mihnea Constantinescu shared with us the good news about the inclusion of gas rehabilitation project and the interconnector to Moldova in the European PCI list. An estimate we heard yesterday that 70% of the gas transmission infrastructure need to be rehabilitated, and it arrests any attempt to estimate the dollar amount, but sets a starting point for a summary view on the purpose, scope, demand for such a regional interconnector. So what is the purpose of such an interconnector under discussion? First of all, currently it is the security of supply and the energy security. It happens and it's being built. Second, equally important, it may have a gas transit function with a third package compliance requirement, mainly third-party access and non-preferential treatment. In the case of existing 3 pipelines crossing Romania to Bulgaria and Turkey, there's an exclusive preferential treatment of suppliers, which is a non-compliance with the EU law. Any new pipeline, of course, would need to offer unrestricted non-preferential access to all operators. I was going to speak about the drivers of financeability, but there's nothing new there. Everybody knows what they are. But we know that investors are basing their decisions on the prospects for the future. In other words, clarity. Clarity about the future is key. Clarity about the regulatory framework, clarity about the policy stand, clarity about the geopolitics of the region, if there can be clarity. So I'm going to jump to the projects that I would like to bring to your attention, because it's a new project. It could be a good opportunity for the countries in the region and Romania. The project meets most of the financeability criteria and looks like it fits the bill. It's complementary to all existing new proposals in the region, does not compete, and it's a win-win. From what I understand, it's in advanced stages of approval for the PCI list, for the project of common interest, and for accessible financing. The project is called East Ring. It's promoted by the Slovak transmission operator, TSO, called Ustream. And has its project members Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria. And also a portion at this stage through Ukraine. The funding for the project depends on three sources. First, from the consortium of companies involved in countries, from the involved countries. Second, from the European Union, if the project meets the requirements for PCI listing. And finally, from European Investment Bank and commercial banks. East Ring fills a void left by another project that was not transparent. It was South Stream. And it's fully compliant with all EU rules and their spirit, a project with unrestricted access for third parties. East String secures national gas supply for 100% of all Balkan countries' consumption. It provides Western shippers with possibility to supply Balkan countries and even Turkey from European hubs, NSG, NCG, Gazpool, Baumgarten, and TTF. East String is a new pipeline corridor ready for future gas imports to Europe from well-established and also alternative sources. The Black Sea area, the Caspian region, the Middle East, potentially a Turkish hub, and others. It allows utilization of existing transit and storage assets in Central and Eastern Europe, in the Czech Republic, in Slovakia, in Poland, in Ukraine, in Romania, and in Bulgaria. So it is the most economic and time-efficient project to construct in this region. Depending on the routing, it will have between 832 and 1,075 kilometers, and in the first phase will have a capacity of 20 BCM. It is envisaged that it may double to 40 if there will be demand. What I would like to say about such a project is that the entire Central and Eastern European region is a good investment place according to the Franklin Templeton Fund. It is very attractive to investor. What is new in Romania, and which changes the country's perspective and standing, it is potential exporter status. We know that in the Black Sea, OMV and Exxon may have 5 to 10 BCM of gas to export. That puts Romania in a different category. So this is a project I wanted to mention that is potentially a game changer in the region. The second part of my presentation would be a proposal for an institutional stability framework. In many projects I've worked in the region, I encountered variable degrees of difficulty in collecting data. In particular, I noticed that when working with aggregate data at the EU level, the available data was accurate and fairly accessible. There was a different story at the member states level, where data to this day may be outdated, unavailable, or simply difficult to access. In thinking about the institutional stability mentioned by Ambassador Mihnea Constantinescu yesterday, I thought about experiences in other markets. Practitioners are telling me that when in need, they work with International Energy Agency, with Eurostat, and of course, with national regulatory agencies. However, it takes up to 3 years for an experienced researcher to establish the necessary human contact at the source to have full access. That's the reality of all. That is not exactly conducive to a project development or investment development work. What I'm proposing here under the Aspen Institute auspices is to initiate either an exchange or a small project with a government agency in the United States called Energy Information Agency. The U.S. Energy Information Administration is the statistical and analytical agency with the U.S. Department of Energy. Energy Information Agency collects, analyzes, and disseminates independent and impartial energy information to promote sound policymaking, efficient markets, and public understanding of energy and its interaction with the economy and the environment. Energy Information Agency is the premier source of energy information, and by law, its data, analysis, and forecasts are independent, I'm stressing that, of approval by any other office or employee of the government. Yeah. So the agency conducts a comprehensive data collection program that covers the full spectrum of energy sources and uses, energy flows, and prepares informative energy analysis, monthly short-term forecast of energy market trends, and long-term US and international energy outlooks. So what are the products and services that this agency offers? There's a long list of such products, starting from daily products to weekly products, monthly products, and they are available on the website. In the interest of time, I will not list them all. But this kind of approach and information treasure would be very much needed for the institutional format in this country and for these projects.